Hi everyone. I'm Duane Chong, and I'm the program director of Grow Wellbeing, a community interest company connecting children, adults, and families to nature across the Wirral and the wider Merseyside and Cheshire areas. So I've got a PowerPoint presentation here, so I think I'll see if I can share that with you all, and then I can talk through some of the slides with you about the work that we've been doing since we were formed in 2018. Okay, so Grow Wellbeing was, as I mentioned, it was founded in 2018. My background actually is in community development, where I worked in Liverpool for many years. I also managed a Sure Start program supporting families with young children in Liverpool for a number of years before lecturing in early years and education studies at Edge Hill University, at Hope University and Glyndŵr in North Wales, Glyndŵr University in North Wales. And it was during the last 5 years that I lectured in Glyndŵr University that we took our students, our aspiring teachers, on field trips to the woods outside of Wrexham, to Erddig, if some of you might know, to undertake forest school type activities so that they could learn how they could connect the curriculum to the outdoors, to the natural environment. And myself and other colleagues felt that that was really important, and that not enough teachers were doing that. And clearly, and we knew that there was a growing movement of education outside, and forest school was one of the ways that that was being delivered, and schools were opting into that, or some schools were opting into that. So that was what we did. And during those years, we actually took some of the students through their level 1 forest school certificate. But more importantly, I think I realized how much not only could the natural environment provide opportunities for curriculum opportunities for students to, for teachers to connect the curriculum outdoors. But I saw, and other colleagues did, how important the natural environment was for children, for those students, but for everybody's social and emotional development and well-being. So when I left the university in 2017, I sought to set up Grow Wellbeing to provide greater opportunities for connection to the natural environment to enhance health and well-being, and it was set up as a community interest company. Again, as I say, my background was in community development, and I saw that there were lots of communities that were disconnected from the natural environment, and urban areas in particular, where and we see on the Wirral, don't we, that there are certain communities and certain areas of the Wirral which have a much lower life expectancy and less connection to green space. And so this is something that I thought that Grow Wellbeing could help and begin to address. As I mentioned, I saw this firsthand, but there's an increasing body of research that supports the view that increased time spent outdoors in nature has all-round benefits from social, emotional, cognitive, physical, mindfulness, mental health, confidence building, resilience, and so on. There's some images from our forest school sessions at Tamashanta Farm. And the other aspect of forest school is that increasingly Tim Gill, an academic, has said that we're living in a risk-averse society. We're living in a society which overprotects our children to the extent where they're less likely to engage in risky play. They're less likely to wander or play further than 20 yards from the front door now, whereas the average, what do they call, the radius of play of a child 30, 40, 50 years ago might have been 1.5 miles or 2 miles away, as people were able to, as I did in my childhood, go to, I lived in Liverpool, and I would go to Sefton Park, which would be 1.25 miles away, and I'd go with siblings or friends and so on. And not, you know, some of you might know the kind of be back for tea or be back before it's dark and so on. And that's the childhood I had. I didn't live in a woodland. I did live in town, but we had parks that we could go to, and we had a greater freedom to roam. Children these days have less of that opportunity, and the reasons for that are many, but include, you know, increased volume of traffic, but also stranger danger. But overall, we protect our children to the extent where we don't let them engage in risky play. And Forest School, to some extent, begins to address some of that. As I mentioned, again, research provides the evidence that confidence, self-esteem, resilience, speech and language development, creative thinking, problem solving and self-regulation are all part of they're all elements, all benefits that children are likely to get from engaging in Forest School. But, you know, the kind of risky play that I might have engaged in, you know, a few years ago, when we didn't have our parents there to protect us, we had to work things out for ourselves. So over the last 4 years or so, we have been running kindergarten sessions with stay and play sessions for parents and young children, Woodland Explorer sessions for primary age children, and particularly a number of children whose families bring them to Woodland or drop them off at Woodland Explorer, who have additional learning needs, and that might be on the autistic spectrum, ADHD, or sometimes behavioral issues. And spending more time outside seems to help those children with particular conditions. They aren't restrained by four walls and have greater freedom. That's not to say that we don't have rules in Forest School, and certainly when we're using tools, we do have a strong sense of keeping everybody safe. But that's part of the self-regulation, because we ask children to learn how to manage themselves using tools safely. We've run sessions for homeschool, home educators, and for childminders. There was a childminder session just this morning down at Tam O'Shanter Farm, and we run lots of family sessions where families with young children and older children will attend workshops, and we also run holiday schemes. We've run such a variety of Forest School sessions since we started in 2018, and we have contracts with a number of schools, some long-standing ones with Park Primary in Wallasey, Brackenwood, St Albans in Liskeard. Last year asked us to do Forest School sessions, even though they have absolutely no green space in their school. It's concrete and rubber crumb, but we actually began running Forest School sessions in the graveyard at St Albans next door, because there's a patch of green space there. And we also take the children to Central Park, but they've asked us to green up, or to help them to green up their grounds. And we have or have had term-long contracts with Poulton Lancel, Bromborough, Spittal, Pitter Day Nursery, Liso Nursery School, and we also have a contract we're subcontracted by Mersey Forest to deliver Forest School sessions in Liverpool, in Holton, in Wirral, and we're currently working at St Werburgh's, and just started a program of 12 Forest School sessions there, and in Chester. We worked for Wirral Lifelong Learning, kinship carers sessions and Bernardo's Action for Young Carers, and we've brought them to Tamashanta for Forest School, but also we take them to our allotment at Edward Kemp to do a kind of hybrid rowing and Forest School session. And we've run Forest School in last summer for the Holiday Activity Fund program at Beechwood, Carbridge, and for Family Matters. Some images from the sessions that we run. These ones, kinship carers over in Liverpool at with Growing Sudley, who are another member of the Mersey Green Map, I'm sure. As you can see there, you know, we help make bug hotels. We've used willow here for the children to create structures, dens. I mean, we have done this with living willow so that there are semi-permanent structures, but we also use willow for children to make temporary structures and be creative and architectural with their designs. And this here on the left is a typical scene with the parachute tarp that we have, or we have several of those. So on a slightly damp day, then we can still run our sessions. The weather doesn't get in the way of operation. Only stormy weather, unfortunately, and we have had a bit of that recently, haven't we? And we have had to cancel sessions because of very strong winds. And you see some evidence of tool use here, using the sawhorse, and children quite quickly get the hang of using saws and vegetable peelers and secateurs and so on, and learning how to use those tools safely. Bernardo's Young Carers are a group, and there's a Wirral group that we've been working with since 2019, and usually at holiday times. And young carers, if you don't know, are children who have caring responsibilities in their families because some member, the parents usually have some disability or illness, or there's some crisis in the family that means that children have to take caring responsibilities. And some of them can be as young as 5 years of age. And so as part of the package that Bernardo's Young Carer, Action for Young Carers offer, we quite often do sessions for the young carers to give them a break from their caring responsibilities. In the autumn, as a few organisations locally did, we were successful in attracting some Liscard Community Fund monies, and we ran some free forest school sessions in Central Park, again family sessions and kindergarten sessions, and we also scheduled some wellbeing and nature sessions for adults, hoping to get referrals from the community connectors and social prescribing link workers, although not sure whether the timing or rather the time of year was a factor, but it wasn't very successful, but we will be trying that again. We probably in a few short months when the weather's a lot better. But those sessions were very successful, and we hope to run some more sessions because there seems to be a demand for engaging with nature play in and around the Wallasey area and Liscard. So we hope to run some more sessions in Central Park in the future. We have been collaborating with Callister Trust for some time, and Callister Garden, as many of you will know, has been brought back into use over the last 3 years, and volunteers have helped to transform it from an overgrown jungle into something that many people now are really valuing in terms of growing, and the Callister Trust have asked us to deliver a number of forest school sessions for refugees and other local groups. But we're particularly pleased with the collaboration that we have with Callister Trust to deliver women's wellbeing workshops. And those wellbeing workshops that include nature, art and craft, usually some yoga, mindfulness, or what's the word, Pilates, and usually we have a big tureen of soup on the go there. And all of the women that have attended those often from local support groups who have been referred or brought by partner organisations to the Callister Gardens, have all expressed they've been really grateful for the opportunity to spend some time outside and working, as I say, making some things, some nature, art and craft, or those mindful moments that they have. Again, because we're nature connected, we have always felt that, I mean, some people think we're just a forest school organisation, but we growing and well-being in nature are equally important to us. And LJMU asked us to support a children's growing project in the Bronte over in Liverpool I think it was back in 2019. We also take some groups to, including Bernardo Jeune Carers, to the Edward Camp Community Allotment, which we have been, and we have a few small plots there, and we've been developing that particularly over the last year, since we came out of the lockdown period. Last year we did some planting. It does say panting there, but it was planting definitely, and growing activities ahead of the In Bloom, Northwest In Bloom, which in Beechwood they value really highly. But we help to support them with growing and planting activities in both the local schools, but also a community planting day near to the Beechwood Chapel, and we've been asked to go back again in a short while to do another planting event. And currently we're working with Hype Merseyside. They asked us to support some of their young people to design and install a walled garden project in the premises in Birkenhead Park, ahead of Birkenhead Park's 175th anniversary, I think, this year. And just recently, we're just planning right now a Wellbeing in the Forest program for, or in collaboration with Heart for Refugees, and that's something that the Mersey Forest Green Recovery Challenge funding is going to support. And right now we're looking at how that program, or we're looking to put that program together to support families with young children from Heart for Refugees. All right, I talked before about Callister Gardens and the women's wellbeing workshops that we run there, and you can see then some of the women engaging in, I think, a yoga activity, as well as sitting around the campfire and having some vegetable soup. Nice to see you, Lucy. A couple of slides ago, Lucy, there was one that included some images of the sessions we did for kinship carers at Growing Sudley a little while ago.
Yeah, it all looks, we do similar stuff, don't we, Duane? It's all very lovely and familiar. Nice to see. And sorry I was late, everyone, because I thought it started at 7:30.
No worries. Yeah, so just, you know, some sense of what happens in our activities, and I think what's happening here is that Steph, who many of you will be familiar with, was doing installing a living willow dome in Park Primary over in Wallasey, and she was engaging the children in the construction of that living willow structure, and which I think in that bigger image they're inside of. Some of you may know that we have, did I jump on there? Oh no, okay. Something called an act of kindness program, a kind of pay it forward. And so going back a couple of years ago, we launched this act of kindness program, and we invited our current subscribers, families that attend our Forest School sessions and other agencies to make donations to the Act of Kindness Fund, so that we could offer free places on Forest School and wellbeing and nature activities for children, adults and families in areas in which we wouldn't really anticipate that they would take up the places or be able to afford the places. So this past year we have, I think, I don't know the exact number, but we have used about £300 of Act of Kindness funding to make places available on either Forest School or wellbeing workshops. Collaboration is so important to us, and I have mentioned earlier in the presentation some of the organisations we worked with. As I said, Callister Trust, Growing Sudley, and Make Hamilton, which is where we're based in Birkenhead. We have a studio in Make Hamilton building near to Hamilton Square, Magenta Living and Hype Merseyside, but others besides. But as a socially trading organisation, that collaboration just seems so important to ensure that we're, you know, that even like-minded organisations are working together to promote the benefits of nature connection, and yeah, working together. Currently, we and last year we were fortunate to be a recipient of investment funding from Kindred, Liverpool City Region, which a peer network organisation that supports the development of socially trading organisations. And we use that to consolidate the work that we have been doing by employing a project coordinator. Previous to that, our staffing levels were quite low, and our capacity to respond to opportunities was limited, or it stretched us. And so we employed a project coordinator. The project director there is me, and we also have a Forest School leader. And as of now, the three of us are pretty much full-time equivalent posts. In addition, we have 3 sessional Forest School leaders and 4 sessional Forest School assistants. So they are all part-time sessional staff. And we also have been employing Kickstart trainee positions, and we have actually created 5 employment opportunities through Kickstart, and we currently have 3 Kickstart Forest School assistants, although one of those assistants is shortly finishing her 6-month placement. And we also have a bookkeeping assistant and a marketing and promotions assistant through the Kickstart scheme, which sadly is coming to an end quite soon. But we feel that we have provided good opportunities for those Kickstart young people to get an opportunity, a paid opportunity in a positive working environment, to learn about nature connection, to learn about forest school, or to develop their skills in bookkeeping and marketing and promotion. And we also have a number of volunteers, some of whom are undertaking their forest school level 3 training. Okay, so that's a lot of the essentially the work that we've been doing. But I wanted to also talk about health and well-being and the access to green spaces. And the reason I think it's important to mention this is that following an invitation from Community Action Wirral, probably about 9 months ago now, to attend a CVF reference group, or rather a Zoom meeting to discuss the development of CVF, CVF being Community Voluntary and Faith Sector Reference Group for Wirral Health and Wellbeing Board. I did attend a number of meetings because it sounded quite important to a small organisation like ours to see how we could influence policy and practice in relation to nature connectedness. And the reason why this reference group was called for, and it was called for by the chair of the Wirral Health and Wellbeing Board, was because it was felt that not enough community, voluntary and faith sector representatives' voices were being heard on that Health and Wellbeing Board. So over the last 9 months, as I say, I attended some meetings and somehow have found myself, at the moment, there are 17 members of the reference group, and I seem to be the only one that has identified as an environment sector person, and I found myself as the lead person for environment on the reference group. And last month, in February, I, with the reference group, presented a paper on the environment to the Health and Wellbeing Board. And in that, and it was kind of, we'd been invited to put a policy paper proposal to the Health and Wellbeing Board. So using the recent policies and recent policy papers on the Wirral and nationally, and some that Mersey Forest had identified, all of which cited green space as essential to improving health and well-being, accessing it and engaging with it as significant to addressing health inequalities. So I kind of, in that paper, in that proposal paper, and it has been circulated, so many of you might have seen it already. Community Action Wirral certainly sent it out in February. But one noticeable paper was Public Health England 2020 report, which emphasizes more than anything more recently that I've seen, how important access and engagement with local green spaces is to improving health and well-being. Anyhow, ultimately the proposal I put forward was to increase and bring into use local green spaces that may currently be underutilized, fly-tipped, and otherwise used as car parks or whatever, but bring more of those into use for local communities to access, to grow, to meet, and to undertake well-being workshops or whatever might help them in terms of their mental health and social isolation and so on. Just some of our online website and social media presence there. Okay, and I'm done. Obviously happy to take any questions.